Hello and welcome to the fight against fascism. Today I want to talk about America. Now, as you will know from my accent, or most likely guess, or from the fact that you might have watched my other videos, I'm not an American, but I do find American politics rather fascinating. However, I would say that fascinating is probably not the right word for how things have gone over the last 6 months or so. I would say terrifying, petrifying, absolutely and deeply and profoundly worrying would probably be better adjectives to use at this stage. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about why. So this is very important because the United States of America, it is often said, when it catches the flu, everyone else gets a cold. It is a very influential country. It's a country that in the UK we have to deal with. But it is a country that is descending into absolute chaos. I want to go through the reasons why. So let's look at what America is doing right now that is particularly concerning. It's about to start an illegal war with Venezuela. It's been bombing boats out in the Atlantic Ocean completely illegally without any just cause. It's a provocation because they want to draw the president of that country, Nicolas Maduro, into conflict. It's the old story again, isn't it? It's a country that has oil. America wants to get involved. The Iraq playbook, but without even any pretense, without any discussions with the United Nations, without even any attempt to sell to the American public, never mind about the rest of the world, about what is going on, why it's happening. There's no attempt to justify it. What else are they doing? They've banned all press from accessing the Pentagon unless they sign a waiver, which basically means that they just have to take the government line in their reporting. They're not allowed to talk independently to Pentagon officials. They're not even allowed to talk to whistleblowers. So this is massive censorship on the military at a time when they're about to start an illegal war. They're also in the process of turning the United States into a one-party state. No, I do not exaggerate. They have been delegitimizing the Democratic Party, the only viable opposition in the entire country. They've been calling them violent insurrectionists. They've been calling them a domestic terror group. This is coming from major figures within the Trump administration. And they used the assassination of Charlie Kirk as part of a narrative to say that left-wing violence is so terrible in the United States of America that it justifies suppression. There's something called the 1807 Insurrection Act that exists in America, which allows the president to deploy the military on his own citizens if there is some kind of attempt to overthrow the government. So if they can label the Democrats as insurrectionists, that justifies that deployment. So this is what they're doing right now. Let's look at what they've been doing over a period of time. So, fitting in with all of those points I've just made, they've been flooding Democratic states with the National Guard to intimidate senators and residents, and the National Guard basically is the Americans' equivalent of a domestic military force, essentially. They've been sending out ICE agents, which are immigration enforcement agents, who often are wearing masks. They don't have any badges. They're completely unidentified, who have been black bagging people, disappearing people, ramming cars in the middle of the street. And often the only provocation for doing so is that they've seen a brown person, particularly someone who is Hispanic. They've been attempting to gerrymander American states so that they can reduce the Democratic vote. So basically change the electoral map, which means that you can create a stitch up so that the Republicans are more likely to win. The Democrats have started to respond by attempting to do something similar, but it shows the corruption, the corruption of the democratic process that has been led by the Republicans. And the president, Donald Trump, has been undermining the judiciary, the Supreme Court, been undermining Congress, who are utterly useless at this stage. They've been cowed into ineffectiveness. Anyone in Congress, which is the equivalent to our House of Commons basically, who tries to stand up to Donald Trump is immediately threatened with losing their seat. And because money dominates all elections in the United States of America, if you can get enough money behind a state senator or a congressman, then you're able to get people out of office who don't suit your agenda. That worked particularly well when he had Elon Musk in his corner, because he could just use Elon Musk's billions as a way of threatening anyone who would stand against the Donald Trump line. So the effect is you've got a completely ineffective legislature, you've got a Supreme Court that is often being ignored, and you've got a constitution in the United States which is ignored when it suits the president. People said when Trump was re-elected back into office that the guardrails would hold. Guess what? They're not holding. We are seeing a boost in presidential powers, the likes of which we've never previously witnessed. Now I want to look at the things that he's already done. These are the things that are already completed. So he's given a massive pay cut to millionaires and billionaires that is being paid for with exorbitantly increased healthcare costs for ordinary citizens, cuts in healthcare facilities in the most remote parts of the country. So you're having basically village hospitals, local hospitals having to shut down because they're no longer getting government funding, so they're not viable. So people are going to have to travel hundreds of miles to get healthcare, which in some cases means that people are going to die. People who can't afford their healthcare anymore will die from preventable diseases. They've also cut nutritional support for the poorest in society. So the equivalent to food stamps, essentially, taken away because they wanted to give a massive tax cut to those who were already disgustingly wealthy. He's handed over healthcare to a conspiracy theorist who is defunding science and stopping vital research into life-saving healthcare from taking place. Okay, this isn't just going to impact America, this is going to impact the world, because America was a major part of research into health and science. He's funded genocide in Palestine even more aggressively than Biden before him. And Biden, don't get me wrong, was a disgrace. There's a reason why he was called Genocide Joe. Let me just say, by the way, this current ceasefire, it won't work because Israel will not be reined in. Trump will do nothing to keep Israel to the ceasefire. This same deal, virtually the exact same deal, was implemented in January when President Trump first took office. It was broken in March. Nothing was done. The genocide became even more brutal, even more devastating. So just this sums it up. The great Mehdi Hassan quoted that a ceasefire means this: Palestine ceases and Israel fires. But let's look at what else has already been done by this American regime. They've taken bribes from dictators and billionaires, including a private plane from Qatar and a golden statue from Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. Trump is just there to be bribed. He's only interested in enriching himself and empowering himself. And the country that he leads is crumbling. Let's also bear in mind the fact that Trump started a pump and dump meme coin to rip off his own supporters. He doesn't care about his own supporters. He doesn't care about those people that have put him into power. He made himself, by the way, an estimated $315 million from that pump and dump meme coin scheme, and obviously impoverished and bankrupted some of the poorest people in American society. And it is people, unfortunately, who are poorer who tend to support Donald Trump. So these are the things then that he's doing, that he has been doing, and that he's already done. And all of this is contributing to a climate of fear. It's leading to falling economic standards, falling GDP, massively increase the deficit. They put an extra $1 trillion in terms of the deficit and the debt that America has to pay. It's leading to fear. It's leading to communities in the country feeling terrorized. He's pretty much destroyed the livelihoods as well. I haven't mentioned things like tariffs, which have contributed to destroying the livelihood of people trying to start small businesses, farmers, those who are trying to grow soybeans and sell them on the international market. with the tariffs that he placed on countries like China. They reacted by no longer buying those soybeans. That's caused massive devastation, suffering within the country as well. We have to say, anyone who is taking a balanced and objective approach to analyzing the situation in America would have to say that Trump is the most corrupt, power-hungry, destabilizing president in US history. And yet he was democratically elected just 10 months, well, in fact, just under a year ago. Why was that? Why did the American people vote for someone so destabilizing? He wasn't really keeping this a secret, let's be honest. His campaign was one of the most vile campaigns in American history. But people still voted for him. You know, I actually spoke to a woman who voted for Donald Trump, and she had a green card. She was from Brazil, living in the United States. And you know what she said? She said, Trump is only out there to punish the bad people, the bad immigrants, the ones who don't want to play by the rules, the ones who want to come over illegally and not follow the process. Well, tell that now to the tens of thousands of people around that country being terrorized for the crime of coming from Latin America. People with green cards, people with settled status, people who are fully fledged citizens of the United States, but they're being terrorized by a domestic terror group funded by the United States of America. And this is what they voted for. Why did they do it? They did it because they were fed up. They were fed up of the status quo. They saw their economic conditions were worsening, and they were seduced into anger, grievance, cruelty, and division. They were seduced into blaming and stigmatizing migrants, even migrants stigmatizing other migrants. Because it's easier to do that, isn't it? It's easier to stigmatize the other than it is to actually look at the real root causes and to really set out to challenge the power structures that are impoverishing and immiserating us all. We cannot fall into that same trap. Ask yourself this question. Who is stoking the same divisions in this country, the United Kingdom, right now? Who is trying to get us to turn on those who are most vulnerable in our society? Who is providing cover for the millionaires and the billionaires, the people who are vastly and disproportionately benefiting from both the neoliberalism of the likes of Labour and the Democrats in America, and would continue to benefit and do continue to benefit under the incipient fascism of Donald Trump and his acolytes across the West? America right now is in a fight for its life. And if we make the same choices that they did, then we will be too. Don't make the same mistakes. Learn from the mistakes of others. Come together, join together, fight against the forces of division, fight against the forces of violence. Fight for peace, fight for justice. Join me in my fight against fascism. I plan on making more videos on this topic, not specifically America. I am in the UK. I look to America as the canary in the coal mine, as a warning story. But join me. Please do subscribe. Please do like this video. We all need to wake up to what is really happening out there. We need to avoid becoming the next country that falls.